Hello, everybody. Welcome to Outside the Box, the podcast devoted to supporting Central PA small business. I am Derek Bixler, realtor and digital marketer right here in Central PA. I grew up on the Hill, which is why I'm super interested in what's happening today. I'm going to point the right direction today to the bridge, Corey Dupree, and he did the wrong way, like we all do. So I grew up on the Hill, so I'm all about today's episode. I graduated from Mechanicsburg High School, went to Penn College of Technology up in Williamsport, and now I've been back here, had a few sales jobs, and have been selling real estate ever since. If you need to buy or sell a home, please contact me. You can text me, email me, throw a rock through my window, send a carrier pigeon, whatever you need to do. Houses are in very, very short supply right now, so reach out to me. If you would like to get on our email list, go to supportcentralpa.com to get networking mixer updates and invites, episode announcements, and exclusive special offers, of which we will have a little bit for you from the bridge later on. A reminder, if you're on Clubhouse, and actually, Corey, I was thinking since you were on Clubhouse, we should have done this episode also on Clubhouse. I've never done it. Would have been a good time to try, but if you're on Clubhouse, follow me at Agent Derek. And every Thursday, we are on there, Thursdays 1 to 2, Central PA Small Business Connect. You can connect and talk to other small businesses here in Central PA, exchange business. I take notes for afterwards. A reminder to leave a question in the comments. If Corey or I don't see it while we're going, which we probably won't, and well, I might, but if we don't, we'll come back and answer them and talk to you guys later. And please, if you know Corey, drop it in the comments and say hi. A reminder that replays are on YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, and soon on iTunes and all those other places as well. And now we'll get into it, and I'll shut up with Corey Dupree of The Bridge. And you guys might have seen Jordan Hill also on the thumbnail or in the description. He couldn't be here, probably because of family kid stuff, which we can both relate to, I think. I forget what the reason was. But Corey, say hi to everybody and tell us a little bit about your background and yourself personally first.
Absolutely. Good morning, everybody. And I guess, is this the right way to look? Good morning. There we go. So just a little bit about myself. My name is Corey Dupree. I am actually originally from Cambridge, Massachusetts. And then in 2005, by way of the Milton Hershey School, I moved to Central PA. I learned a lot about moving from the big city to the farm country. It was my first experience in Walmart, and I mean, what a time. So, but no, I went to Milton Hershey School for high school. After the 4 years there, was able to go ahead and move forward and graduate and attend Penn State University. And while at Milton Hershey, I became really good friends and essentially brothers at this point with my now Bridge teammates. And actually Jordan, who you mentioned earlier, was one of our biggest rivals from Steel High. We hated each other up until we got to college. And became really good friends. Just one day, Jordan needed a ride home, so I gave him and Christian a ride. So that's how it all worked out with us kind of getting really close. And fast forward a little bit, I've had backgrounds in sports marketing, working with NFL and professional basketball players. Also worked for Hershey Entertainment Resorts, doing sales and marketing and working with the reservations and just all-encompassing, doing a lot, for lack of better words. And then fast forward, now I am also the alumni engagement coordinator for the Milton Hershey School. So it all kind of found a way to come full circle, while also serving as a voluntary advisory board member and COO for the Bridge Eco Village, as well as Empowerment at the Bridge, our nonprofit.
You're doing a lot of stuff. You got a lot of things on your resume there. Tell us a little bit about, for those, we all kind of know about Milton Hershey and know of it, know where it is and everything, but a lot of people might not know really what it is or what it's all about. Could you give us a little bit of background on Milton Hershey, since you're so connected there and went through the system?
Absolutely. So long story short, Milton Hershey School saved my life. So the high level definition or background story, in 1909, Milton Hershey and Catherine Hershey, his wife, actually created a school for orphan white boys, in which this school was going to go ahead and provide the basic needs for them to go ahead and to learn a structural trade. They lived with a parent just because they couldn't have children themselves. So they actually set aside their entire fortune, their trust, to be known as the deed of trust, to go ahead and fund the school for perpetuity. So going through the 60s, the school then implemented black and brown boys. And then into the 70s, girls were able to go ahead and come into the school. And then in the late 80s, mid 90s, the threshold changed to not only having to be orphans, but the philanthropy then switched to you having to be below the poverty line. So me growing up, I was adopted by my grandmother when I was 4, me and my 2 brothers, and we happened to qualify. So the school does amazing things in terms of being able to create a holistic and not just providing the basic needs for students. So it's a free boarding school. There's no cost for it. Children go as early as 5 years old, all the way through, I think you can enter as late as 16 years old, but essentially all the way through high school. You have the ability once in high school to actually earn your college scholarship. And even if you elect not to go to college, then you have the ability to go ahead and pretty much monetize off of your trade because it's a trade school still at the very basic level of it, to where there are 12 career technical pathways. So that's the gist of Milton Hershey School.
And they've got full sports programs, everything. They've got what you say in a house, right? Are there dormitories or are there all houses?
For lack of better words, we lived in mansions. So I grew up with 12 other boys. So when you're from elementary, middle, and high school, you're living homes, but then once you get to senior year, they switch the curriculum to actually hone in on your interests. So for me, like I love culinary arts, so I was in culinary arts through high school, and also in business. So I got my ServSafe certification, I got all of my Microsoft certifications. My senior year, I actually lived in an apartment. So there was the houses switched from the more cohesive 13 people homes to apartments, to where Gary and Josh and Marco were my roommates, but it was a completely different style getting you ready for college. It was called transitional living. So it's not your traditional run-of-the-mill boarding school. It is more structured and circled around family. And there are 8,000 living alumni out doing some amazing things. And like I said, it saved my life. So I know that there are plenty of others who could attest to the same.
So is going through being having the background that you've had and going through that what inspired you to get involved with the bridge or to start the bridge with all the other people that you did that with?
Absolutely. So at the very base level, I guess to kind of give the background story on it, Gary and I used to sit down in our apartment and play Ratchet and Clank and Sonic back on like PS3, and would genuinely talk about why aren't there more Milton Hershey schools? Like, why doesn't Coca-Cola have a Milton Hershey school? Or why don't some of these larger companies have this philanthropic vision?
Well, that's true, because what you didn't mention, but the Milton Hershey School owns the trust or runs the trust, right? So they don't take donations, or maybe I don't know much about it, but I'm assuming they take no donations. And I've heard it's the richest school in the world or something like that.
It's the second largest endowed university behind Harvard. So it has a $13.1 billion endowment, roughly, give or take a couple million. So, but yeah, no, it's run, it's a nonprofit. They don't take any money in. It's tied directly. Whenever you buy a Hershey product, on the back of it, if you flip it up, at least in Central PA, it says this goes towards the students at the Milton Hershey School. So next time you go ahead and buy a Hershey bar, flip it up on the back, and it'll have a picture of Mr. Hershey. And it might be the one of him holding a child. I'm not 100% sure, but that is transcribed right there in the back.
And it is strange that other large corporations have adopted a similar model, and it's sitting right there to be duplicated. You would think at least a couple have.
Exactly. I mean, that was our thought. And I mean, for us being 17, 18 years old in high school, sitting there having this thought process, to us, it was just crazy, because we're in this institution, we're living it, we're breathing it. We know that there were many more. There's so many diamonds in the rough, if you will. The school only takes 10% of kids. Now, what about the other 90%? Which is the unfortunate part. But inside of my mind, that's where the genesis kind of started. At the very base level, we knew that there's a need, and it's about assessing that need and attacking that need and providing for that need. So fast forward, Gary and I over the years have sat down and just called each other like, bro, we should have like a STEM camp, right? Because instead of a football camp, or we should do some outdoors things. I was in Boy Scouts, I was in Outward Bound. For me to get outside of the city and go and hike the White Mountains, or to go out to Philmont in New Mexico, those are all life-changing experiences for somebody who's growing up in the situation and background that I did. And it really that provided me a different level of insight. So Gary and I sat and would speak. It was actually coming up on 2 years, March 31st, 2019. Nipsey Hussle was killed in Compton, or in Crenshaw, excuse me, right outside of his shop. And he's somebody who we both held high value with. Gary talks about how he didn't know too much about him until after his passing, where he started really listening to his music. For me, I've always loved everything that Nipsey stood for. He practiced what he preached. I mean, he bought the shopping plaza that he used to get kicked out of all the time. And in turn, he had the marathon, the marathon clothing store. He had Vector 90. He just was really changing everything. So we sat down and spoke and came up with all these crazy business ideas. We at the very base level wanted to have a co-working space. But at the co-working space, we was like, we have to have a farm. We want to go and have somewhere for people to exercise their physical needs and their mental well-being. The one thing that jumped out to us at the end of our first semester of college, roughly a third of our graduating class had either dropped out or were failing in college. So you had everything while you're at Milton Hershey school, but when you're gone, you lose that structure and you go back to those situations where you might be one argument from having to sleep on the couch. You might be one argument from having to sleep in the car, or having no food on your plate. You have these conversations with your friends in school who are going away for spring break, but you're sitting here trying to figure out where your next meal is going to come from, right? So all these things are all real situations. And the school did the job, but for us as alumni, it's like we felt that there's so much more that we can be doing to help our brothers and sisters. So we sat down in mid-April. We came up with the LLC in April. We met with our attorney, and she was just like, "You guys might be onto something." And one who would tell us, like, "Don't do this," right? Or to go and give her a stamp of approval. But essentially, Gary and I brought in other like-minded individuals who we knew would get it, and they just happened to be our close friends. In August, we brought in our CIO, Desjuan, as well as Rob DeJarnette, who's our CFO, and Jordan later on in November. And that situation was just crazy in itself because he was up in State College, had just gotten back like the week before, and just the perfect time and meets opportunity. So,
yeah, and I love how, hopefully the 10%, you being part of the 10%, Nipsey Hussle being part of that 10% that gets some help or makes it, can go back and help that other 90% who still need the help. So you're part of that and helping that. And I think that's great. Where did the bridge come from? You're standing in old McDevitt High School. We haven't addressed that yet. So you're standing in the old McDevitt High School. Everybody around here knows that. I grew up on the hill, played around there. I have an episode actually with somebody that lives directly across from there, or you grew up directly across from there. Next week, I think. Roxanne Hearn, if you're watching. So tell us how you ended up with this project with McDevitt High School and the project itself.
Absolutely. So the bridge really serves. The name came. Gary and I were just sitting there. Gary's in Seattle. I'm in Pennsylvania. So we literally built this from two different coasts. We would sit there. It would be 4:00 in the morning Eastern time, 1:00 Pacific, and we're building our business plan. And we're texting, comment, "What are you doing awake? No, what are you doing awake?" So coming up with our whole business plan, kind of laying it all out, getting the foundation for it. The bridge exists to span the tide. We hear about the wage gap. We hear about all these different gaps, but gaps are things that are you could see across the gap, right? You could see across that, but when it's a tide, you can't see the other side of the ocean. You have to go ahead and see a bridge, that 7-mile bridge to get to Key West, right? To go ahead and drive across, you have to build these bridges to connect. So we're sitting there and just said, we have to build a bridge, and that was it. We just had that aha. It was like, that's it, the bridge. And now to go ahead and get a little bit more in depth. The bridge is somewhere, not essentially, we're a real estate development for-purpose company in which we acquire old schools, malls, warehouses, and turn them into what we coin as eco-villages, which is somewhere you can work, eat, live, learn, and play, and do so in a sustainable manner. So with the work branch, that's the co-working concept that we had thought about, but not just the co-working, providing the space. How do you carry a business? So many people want to go ahead and be business owners, but they don't know the difference between a product and a service. right? So going ahead, getting down and carrying that business, and not just getting their business plan, but showing them how to get the pitches, having venture capitalists come in for many Shark Tank opportunities, getting them sustainable funding, so that way they're not walking the walk, but they're now able to go and talk the talk. And then the eat branch, addressing and attacking food deserts at the very base level. And Gary speaks about food deserts being food apartheids, because deserts are things that are essentially man-made, are natural, but apartheids are man-made. And that's literally what happens in the city of Harrisburg, where there's one grocery store within the city limits. But also not just that, but the education behind food. So the highest killers of Black and brown people is going to be high blood pressure, high cholesterol, hypertension, diabetes, and cancers. And people think that that's just genetics. When you go to the doctors, your doctor will say, "Oh, you're Black or brown, so you're at risk for these things," right? Not taking into account that it all comes down from your diet. So what's around you, the bodegas that have the high blood pressure, that's the soul food, the culture behind it. The corner stores, the KFCs, the Popeyes, McDonald's, where in turn on site, we're going to have a vegan fast food restaurant. We're going to have a vertical farming component. So that way your fruits and vegetables aren't losing the nutrients coming in from out of town, but within 20 minutes, you can go ahead and say this came from farm to table, right? And then the learn component or the live component are going to be apartments on site. So upwards of 75 apartment units on site, which are going to be micro units, studios, and one bedrooms with a mixture of very low number of two bedrooms, because this serve as a bridge. But the really beautiful thing about the living situation, growing up in Cambridge, my grandmother won the lottery to get the Section 8 housing. And they had just converted a Marriott into apartment units. Now, this Marriott, we had a concierge downstairs, we had pools, we had fitness centers, we had bars, there were restaurants, there was co-working, there was a bank. And upstairs for me were players, professional athletes. Down the hall for me were YouTube stars and people who you see on social media, and then professors from MIT and Harvard. But I had no idea, because it's just community. I just say good morning, we talk, and we just chop it up. But that's the type of village that's needed, so that where nobody has any idea where you fall in the socioeconomic status. Everybody's just your neighbors, you're there to just uplift subconsciously, and it just all comes to your conscious now at that point. The Learn is our nonprofit, Empower at the Bridge Foundation, where we partner with organizations. I don't know if you've seen Sons of Anarchy, but they have a huge table where they sit down and meet. Ultimately, I would like every single nonprofit at each of our locations to sit down quarterly, at least twice a year, to plan out your objectives and do so together. To go ahead and have financial institutions, have community organizations, have local schools and institutions come together and provide resources. I used to go to MIT on the weekends, to where we would separate DNA from strawberries. We would do robotics clubs. There should be no reason why we're not doing that, right? And then the play component is going to go ahead and really tap into the mental and physical being, to where we'll have rock climbing walls. You hear ATVs, four-wheelers, dirt bikes, gunshots, paintball, all that going on at night and sometimes during the day. And you ask the kids, it's just because they don't have anything to do. They got to take the bus to go to Hershey Park. They have to go ahead and get a ride to go to Spooky Nook. They have to go in and get a ride to go across the river to Carlisle Sports Emporium, all these different things, when all the access is right here inside of your backyard. So it really just assessing community needs, and not just real estate development, but just community development at the very base level. So that encompasses is the bridge, and the former Bishop McDevitt High School is the perfect site for us on the hill, in an area of need. I'm going to go ahead and really provide resources to teach people how to go and buy a home, leverage FHA loans, NACA loans, work with individuals such as yourself, other realtors, and more importantly, work with the banks and financial institutions to go ahead and destroy the concept of redlining, right? We see all the row homes, all the boarded homes, all the dilapidated homes, and sites and brownfield sites. That in turn, over the next 5 years, people should go ahead and we have measurable numbers, get the home ownership rate from 38%, let's get that another 10% to 48%. The national average for those of the white population, for lack of better words, is about 65%. So if we can go ahead and raise that to just be equal, like imagine what could go ahead and happen. We're not looking to surpass anything, but looking to go ahead and provide the resources to community members, and as well as the tap into the funding and education. So
So you have co-working, you have a farm, you've got a restaurant, you'll have living spaces, obviously, trainings. What is there anything else I'm missing? You basically have it really is a whole village in one place where you wouldn't even have to leave. Obviously, we want people to leave, but they could stay here and do everything, eat, work, and play in this one place.
So, and another thing that I apologize for glancing over is just the importance of the health education component. So, working with local medical facilities to go ahead and provide those educational resources, because we're not the experts in these things, right? But there are tons of other individuals, just like yourself with real estate. I'm not an expert in real estate, but I'm like, oh no, I could go ahead and give Derek a text or shoot him a call, and there's a reference, right? Come in and host these TED Talks, host these conversations, these concerts, so on and so forth. But tapping into the medical space and providing those resources at the very base level is extremely important as well. We are hosting also a blood drive with American Red Cross next month, April 24th. It's going to be pretty neat down at the Hilton downtown Harrisburg. So we'll get more information to you for that as well.
That's awesome. So education is a big part of it, which is obviously super important. And a lot of times just exposing people to something, it doesn't mean they don't want to do the rock climbing or they don't want to go to Spooky Nook or do these things. It's just that nobody's telling them it exists. Nobody will take them there maybe. And a lot of times, even if you have the transportation to this place, maybe you don't have the funds or the resources to do the thing. I was buying Brazil nuts yesterday and I'm thinking, how do less fortunate people even eat healthy? Even if they could drive to Wegmans and they walk in the store, do they even know what to buy and could they buy it? I mean, a little handful, it was like $10 for this thing. I'm thinking, how do people even eat healthily? So the education part is huge. What was that?
I said $10 is 10 things off the dollar menu, right? So it's, you almost have to go ahead and to put it as plain as day as that. Like those Brazil nuts could have gone in and fed somebody for 2 days, 3 days.
Totally. Yeah. And if you can teach people to grow their own vegetables and understand more about it and expose them, and they might be more apt to want to get out also and not just stay where they are. So you said it's kind of it's a bridge. So are the apartments meant to be temporary? So is there a time limit of how long people could stay here, or is it somewhere where people could live forever?
Yeah, so the way actually it's really neat. We partner with Live, which is LIIV, who is actually going to be operating our apartment units. And the really cool concept about Live, it's actually subscription living. With that meaning, you can sign a traditional year lease, right? Or especially the world that we're in now, let's say you're fresh out of college, right? And you decide, I want to go ahead, I want to minimalize, I want to go ahead and just focus in on my graphic design business. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the bridge. I'll be there for about 3 months. You can go ahead and sign a 3-month lease. And then you decide, oh, I want to go to Houston, to the bridge location in Houston, right? And I have a contract out there. You could go ahead and go out there. You could kind of move as you like. But Live provides at least a 30-day minimum for individuals. So whether that's just kind of a startup or you can go ahead and go the longer term, you can go the traditional year-to-year lease. So it's really to serve as a bridge, but whatever is clever, as I like to say.
Wow, that's super cool. I'm in real estate, obviously, and I haven't heard the term subscription living really yet. The concept's pretty awesome. So do they get in this subscription living, they get access to the co-working space and all the resources of the village? Are there different tiers to what you get access for too?
Subscription living, I mean, it'll include like, think of Netflix, like what's included with your Netflix, right? You have access to all the different shows. You can change who's watching it, whatever. But with the subscription living, apartments will be furnished. It'll also include the cleanup of the apartments. It'll include like some grocery drop off. Like a lot of this is going to be inside of an app. So it'll be go ahead and easy for you to just kind of go ahead and click it, your mail pickup, drop off. As it relates to access to the resources, it's not just for people who live here, it's for everybody in the community. So everything on site is going to be a fluid, open village. And that's how it's supposed to be. Now, there is going to be a degree of separation, obviously, from where you're living and access to the other spaces, but you'll have access to those resources whether you're living on site or not.
Huh. So does this is very I'm very interested in this. This is pretty cool. So this Live organization, do they pay you all you have a contract where they kind of pay you rent for 5-year contract for all the rooms and then it's up to them to go actually rent them and get the money to pay you, or how does it actually work between you?
Yeah, so we have a partnership because every partnership is strategic, and we focus on sustainability. And by sustainability, that means longevity in our terms. So as we go, they grow with us, right? So it's not so much site specific. And if we just wanted a property manager, then we would have just done that, right? But we have a genuine partnership with Live to where it's the revenue share. Is kind of how that's going to be built in, if that makes any sense.
Sure.
But as we go and we ultimately are looking to target over the next 12 years, 20 different cities, we don't want to hamstring ourselves with any of our partnerships.
And how are you sourcing? Are you just looking for old high schools, or I mean, there's a big old William Penn. There's another one in Harrisburg if you want to take on that other, or maybe something's happening with that. I haven't been following it, but so how do you find these places?
Yeah, so we stumbled upon. We actually originally were looking at William Penn, did the tour of it. I mean, it's crazy. It just it's just like Jumanji meets like a bomb show just went off. I don't even know. But
Are there plants and vines, like things growing in there now?
Yeah, the old courtyards are all overgrown, and like literally the house in Jumanji. So it's kind of what the inside looks like. So that was actually the original plan, and then fast forward, one of our partners, our creative director Brandon, his mom is really good friends with the owner of McDevitt. So the people who would purchase the contract, and we got to do a tour, got to go and walk through, and they liked kind of what they heard in the vision for the city and kind of what it meant for the city of Harrisburg. And we're able to go ahead and strike an agreement. Now, on the national level, ultimately, there are land banks. There are cities and communities. I'm thinking right now, just off my head, Cleveland just announced that there are 19 schools that are vacant, which they're looking to go ahead and give off to developers. A lot of cities are putting out RFQs, requests for qualifications for developers to go ahead and develop communities. And namely now being intentional with looking for Black developers because Black developers operate less than 10% of all of development space, which is crazy when you think about some of these urban epicenters. But we go ahead and look to go ahead and have people reach out to us. We go ahead and reach out to individuals. A ground up bridge location in the future is going to be awesome because we'll have the vision, we'll have the geothermal wells, all those different things that will kind of have the lessons learned from previous sites, but really just community members reaching out, cities and organizations reaching out, and working with banks and financial institutions to have them ultimately put their money where their mouth is. You know, a lot of people are talking about putting money towards all these different initiatives, and this is a way to go ahead and kind of allow them to be a part of the change and also have some sense of accountability.
So where does your funding come from? Does it investors, grants? Where does the funding come from for the projects?
Yeah, so for our projects, look to strike public-private partnerships. So with grants, obviously, we have great grant writers. But from the investment side, it's important that the community also has ability to invest in the site. So not just for fully accredited investors, but also unaccredited investors, which ties into our Learn branch. So we're actually going to be releasing soon, shortly actually, a crowdfunding campaign, which will go ahead and allow investors, it'll be plain as day. All right, we'll just say your $500 will go ahead and give you X amount return over X amount of time. So using a real estate crowdfunding campaign. So that'll actually be released relatively shortly within the next week or two. But that also gets the community to buy in, right? And not just saying like, all right, well, we know that they're doing this awesome thing. How do I go ahead and get involved? I don't have $1 million to be an accredited investor, but we now go ahead and learn the importance of group economics. So together, 5 friends with stimulus checks that are coming out can go ahead and $5,000 to get an ROI, right? Or even purchase homes and all these different things and lines of thinking. But with that being said, Gary and Jordan and some of our friends play professional sports and have a lot deeper pockets than me or yourself. So those conversations are the driving force, and they wanted a lot of athletes want to promote change. Instead of having the football camps, having the basketball and baseball camps, let's go ahead and really focus on promoting actual change. One of those 1,000 kids or 300 kids are going to go ahead and get a D1 scholarship. If that kid gets that D1 scholarship, what's the likelihood of him getting to the NFL? And if he gets it to the NFL, if they make it to the NFL, then what happens there? Within 3 years, which is the average lifespan of a player's career, 3 to 5 years, if that, what happens next? Like, what do you do with your money? Are you creating a lasting impact? So just really creating that generational change of not just the common individual, but of athletes and business minds and tradesmen, women, and individuals alike.
Yeah, giving them the tools to succeed. And even if you do make it, even if you are that 1 in 1,000, 1 in a million that makes it, you got to be able to handle that money and know what to do with it. So super important. Is there anything else you want to tell everybody about it before we start taking the tour, which I'm super excited to do?
Yeah, no. So as the world begins to get to a sense of new normalcy, if you will, I'm super excited about being able to host events again. I remember our last big event was last January, where we had MLK Day. We had almost 300 people show up throughout the day for a community cleanup. So we're looking to go ahead and tap into community beautification project.
At the school or somewhere else?
Nope, this was here at the site at the bridge. So we're looking to go ahead and get back to those events, community cleanups, having some bridge beautification projects throughout the city, and on a much national, larger scale, look to go ahead and expand our nonprofit and kind of work with other individuals. I know we're focused obviously on Pennsylvania, but we do plan on getting to Pittsburgh. We plan on getting to Philadelphia, and all the suburban areas. And I'm just super excited. I think that with everything that we've seen over the past year, so many people have come up to us and said, hey, the bridge would have been awesome if we had that in 2020. And for us to have the foresight in 2019, we think back to the biblical reference of Noah's Ark, to where everybody's like, Corey, you and Gary are so damn ambitious. Like, you guys are crazy. You guys should do this. Like, no, you guys you're biting off more than you could chew. And then 2020 comes, right? And then the flood comes. And now it's really time to build and to go ahead and kind of keep applying pressure, holding other individuals accountable. And just know that if you want to get involved, just to actively reach out. I know we'll tap into it a little bit later, but thebridge.com is listed below. But from any capacity, investor, volunteer, cleanup, donations. So that's what I got before we begin the tour.
Yeah, I think you're perfectly positioned. It sounds like for what's to come. There's plenty of product out there that needs repurposed and rejuvenated. There are plenty of people who need the help. You have the people that are invested in it, both monetarily and just with the mission and everything. So it sounds like, I mean, and then the environmental friendliness and the eco and everything about it. It seems like you're at the perfect spot for it to catapult. So let's take the tour and show us a little bit of here, and I'll make you bigger while we do it. And you can show us whatever you want. Right now, where are we?
So right now, we are in the west side of the building. This is a classroom. I will go ahead and look to find the room number to be exact for any alumni who might be watching. We are in classroom. I can't find the classroom number, but let's go ahead and just walk with me. So as we're walking, I'll go ahead and kind of give you the vision for what we see. So this wing of the building, I'm going to go ahead and kind of look over my shoulder. This wing down here, the west side, closer to the gym is further that way, is actually going to be our innovation center and hub. So that's where we'll have the co-working space. We'll have the workshops. We'll have the TED Talks. We'll go ahead and have all the resources that the community is asking for, the podcast studios. We're going to have, I think, the media labs. So just providing that resource. So right now we are in the famed center. So I know everybody here probably knows, walking up the steps right here behind me is the exit or the entrance, if you will. And I'm going to walk backwards now, but this wing, the east wing, is actually going to be more of our housing units. So this is going to be housing on the first floor for most part. and then we'll step outside shortly. But inside the housing, is going to go ahead and, like I mentioned, just more of a community style feel. So it's not just going to be housing, but it's going to be breakout spaces. We're going to go ahead and sit down and provide common areas. I'd love to go ahead and create partnerships with organizations to where we can go ahead and say, hey, state of Pennsylvania, we have 10 rooms, and these rooms are going to be specific for transitional children who are phasing out of, let's say, the foster care system, right? Because once you're phased out, you unfortunately don't always have the same resources. And this kind of falls in line with my thinking for when we went to Milton Hershey school. Once you left and you just didn't have anything but 10 units for the foster care system, and that's for perpetuity, right? So those are the type of partnerships that we're looking to strike and wanting to make. So that's going to be the east side of the building.
And so you're taking classrooms, and then some classrooms, how many apartments do you get, say, out of one classroom, or how do you do that?
So in terms of, there's going to be new build as well. So in the back of the building, but for one class, you could probably get two apartments out of a classroom, honestly. Because for micros are small. They're about 450 square feet, right? And in there, it's just going to be possibly a Murphy bed that has, let's just say, a desk underneath. It gives you everything that you need. Think of an efficiency, but obviously a lot more modern. This behind me is the famed glass windows. I wanted to go ahead and make sure that people could see that. Sorry, it's too bright. You can't really tell that. But let's go ahead and go on a tour. We would like to go ahead and see the front, or do we want to go ahead and see the back of the football field?
I definitely want to see the football field.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's what everybody that I've told I'm doing this. Everybody asks about the football field. You could probably just go there and look back there if you really wanted to see it, right?
So, well, let's go ahead and make our
not
way
walk around, but you don't have attack dogs or snipers on people if they're looking around the building.
We do have security on site, so we're just not open to the public. So especially as we look to go ahead and begin construction in late spring, early summer. And that's just obviously for safety, as you can understand. But if anybody does want to go ahead and see the football field, you might be able to see it from the top of the museum up on top of the hill.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Go up there. I think you can look down.
The National Civil War Museum. But let's go ahead. We'll go ahead and go outside. And this place is like a labyrinth, so I am walking right past the door that I needed to go ahead and go out.
Is there a certain? Go ahead.
I was just going to say what we're going to do in the back of the football field area. I was going to talk about it as we go outside here. But we are actually going to go ahead and have that sport. I don't want to call it a sports complex, but that activities complex will be in the back. There's going to be open space. If you look at a Google map of Harrisburg, the Hill area specifically, that actually will show that there's green space right in Bellevue. But as you continue down Market Street, and as you go towards the city, that there's a huge lack of green space. You'll see all the row homes all together. It's just night and day, for lack of better words. So, like I said, kids have just been saying that they're bored. So we'll go ahead and have the courtyards in the back. Let's go ahead and.
Yeah, I mean, all there is you got Bellevue Park, which is where we always went up to the ponds and played around in Bellevue Park. Then you got Reservoir Park, which is kind of hidden, and a lot of people don't even know it's there. And then not much else. It's pretty much those two things.
Sorry, it's kind of bright, but if we're here, and this is the football field behind me. It's nice and mowed, and these are the former bleachers over there. Let's go ahead and go on a nice quick walk. But over here, let's see if I'm pointing over there, is going to be where we're going to have the activity complex, if you will. And then the vertical farming component is actually going to be on the former parking lot. So we're getting those plans all finalized. But so everybody can kind of get a good view of the field. Should have wore sunglasses.
So attached to the building, there will be some new construction that will be some apartments and things coming out the back.
Yep. So over here, it's not going to be apartments. The new build is actually going to be on top. So if you're looking behind me, I'd say right over here, actually going to build another floor up. Is where we're going to go ahead and have apartments. So the classrooms are all really, really big. So one apartment doesn't equal one classroom, right? So we can go ahead. Some of those can go ahead and break down. Now we do focus on sustainability, which means working with what's already there, and not so much taking down low-bearing walls, any of that. Just really working. The really cool thing is there's a need for structural trades. Especially there's such a huge age gap, apprenticeships. So as we start to build, we want to go ahead and reach out to those those individuals who are already doing the work and who are looking for apprentices to reach out to us to come in and you could serve as educators, because we want to go ahead and have everybody come who has an interest to come in, whether it's electrical. All right, well, you can go ahead and now go ahead and learn electrical, right? Maybe Saturdays we'll dedicate that to like lesson days. And you could go and learn how to put up drywall. And then as you start here, then maybe you start your own LLC. And then we start to go ahead and begin the beautification of the hill area and start to go ahead and fix up some of these homes. You don't have to go ahead and get these larger quotes from larger companies. So that's the overall objective, just kind of trickle down effect and vertical integration, if you will.
Is there any kind of plans for like solar panels or wind? Yeah. Or, I mean, obviously as projects allow you would, but at this one in particular?
Yeah, so there's going to be rainwater collection. So our sustainability goals, limiting carbon emissions. Also falling in line, you mentioned, hit the nail on the head, solar panels. A vertical farm is actually going to be collecting not just rainwater, think gray water. Thinking offhand, sorry, there was a fox that just ran so it threw me off. But think that I'd mentioned earlier geothermal wells. So just making sure we're tapping into the ground's heat because it's already at a natural, I believe, closer to 58 degrees. So instead of having to pull heat from other sources, you go and kind of work with what's already naturally there. So we do have sustainability goals and objectives that we're looking to go ahead and tap into, and we're definitely going to go ahead and hit.
And then you talked about the tradespeople and the lack of and the need for and everything. So everything in the village, who would it all be maintained by? There's some effort to have it maintained by the people that you're trying to serve or by people that are being trained to work on things like that?
What do you mean maintained?
Like, I don't know, the janitorial services in the building, the plumber, the person who cleans off the solar panels, the mowing the yard back there, tending to the garden, cleaning the bathrooms, all that stuff.
I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, this is being built by the community, for the community, with the community. So it's only fair that it should be maintained by small businesses and individuals. But like I had mentioned earlier, the belief of and understanding of vertical integration. So for me, like I sit here and think, all right, well, we have a bunch of people who collectively have a cleaning business. All right, well, now we start the Bridge Cleaning LLC, right? And now each location, we have somebody who's trained here who knows our systems and processes. All right, well, Derek, could you go ahead and go down to Houston to go ahead and make sure that you're running that training system? Make sure that the bridge down there is being run, that all the COVID cleaning protocols are all being run the right way, so on and so forth. So that's how it's all going to be location by location.
And partnerships, obviously. And so would you take on like sponsorships? Like if somebody wanted to be the lawn mowing sponsor, this lawn's mowed. Yeah.
That's another way of funding for us is sponsorships. So working and partnering with organizations that kind of get our mission. And want to go ahead and they might not want to put the manpower to it, but definitely want to go ahead and put their dollars to it. So those sponsorships will go ahead and definitely tie in and be a huge part.
So what is the best way for people to help? Is it tell people the best way to help?
Yeah. So the best way, and we never cap creativity. I think in today's society, starting as early as kindergarten, going all the way up. In kindergarten, you have free reign to do whatever you want, honestly, right? And then as you get older, you get to high school, you start to get more specific. Where are you going to college? What are you going to do when you study, right? And then once you get to college, what's your major? What's your minor? And then when you get out of college, it's like, all right, well, I have to get a job in this very specific field. This is what I have to do because this is what I want to do. And our line of thinking is nobody knows you better than you know you, right? You're a realtor, but here we are on a podcast, right? Reinventing how you go ahead and do things. This is what you love. This is what you're passionate about. So this is how you're helping. So any way that any individual who is watching this or hears this, that you think that you can go ahead and lend yourself to the mission, feel free to go ahead and just kind of poke through our website, whether it's through financial contributions, whether it's putting in the work with us on site when we do have our cleanups as the world kind of gets back to a sense of normalcy, or whether it's making connections, because that's really ultimately what we're looking to do at the end of the day is just build bridges. So I don't know how far this network's going to reach or who this is going to go ahead and reach, but I do firmly believe that everything happens for a reason. So I know that wasn't probably the answer that you were expecting. But
no, that was perfect. It's just reach out to you, and if people want to get involved, to reach out to you, and we'll put the website up. Which actually, I'm surprised you got the bridge.com. Did you have to buy that from somebody?
No, so the domain, everything has happened so crazy, like from the name to the domain to just.
I don't know how. When did you buy it? When did you buy it? Like in 2019?
Yeah, 2019.
And you paid like $11.99 for it? That's no way. All right. So we're going to put it up. But first, we got to do our random question, which has nothing to do with any of this stuff. I just Google funny questions. There's 81 of them. So pick a number between 1 and say 75. And then I'll read 3 of them and you can answer whichever one you want. So pick a number between 1 and 75.
I will go with my football number was 26.
26. All right. All right. What is the most boring sport? That's kind of good for you. Which musician do you think would make the best teacher? And what instrument do you think is the most annoying? You can answer any of them, none of them, one of them, whatever.
All right. I'm going to answer all of them. So the first one, the most boring, I'll come back to that one. But I would say who I would like to have as my teacher. Aretha Franklin. I would like to have Aretha Franklin as my teacher.
All right. So you went with like somebody who might actually be a good teacher, or you would think of as a teacher rather than like an artist you would want to like be like. I'm assuming that's what you want.
Yeah. No, I think that, I mean, obviously I just jump out to our respect, right? Her song Respect. So at the very base level, she's got that reach. So I think that she would have been a great teacher. Rest in power. But Aretha Franklin probably would have been that. My grandma always had us listen to the oldies growing up, you know, just being raised by her and my great grandma. The most boring sport. I'm not the biggest fan of cricket. It's
Who is?
I know. Well, yeah, I know. I'm not the biggest fan of cricket. And I have Caribbean roots, and it's big in the islands, but it's just not for me. So I would go ahead and throw that out there as cricket.
It's like even slower baseball, right?
Yeah.
I'm not a sports watcher. I played basketball, but I can't watch. I like playing sports, but I can't watch any of them for whatever reason. But baseball, definitely not.
I usually watch any and every sport, so I would go ahead and definitely roll with that.
All right.
And what was the last one again?
What instrument do you think is the most annoying?
Oh my gosh, the clarinet. The clarinet. When the kids come home with that, like that is just like, it's just terrible.
One of yours play it?
Yeah, my daughter, I mean, I think it was 2 years ago that they when the kids for school, they bring it home. And it was just like, listen, this has to go. So definitely the clarinet.
They need like a muted version or like an electric version you can play with headphones on or something. Nice. I love it.
From like Anchorman, right? So
yeah. There you go. I forgot about that. All right, we'll put your thing up. It's thebridge.com. That's pretty easy. Easy to reach out to them. Go there. Do you have will the events for the summer, I know you don't have them all planned out, but the cleanup days and all that stuff, will that be on thebridge.com?
Yeah, so what will happen is, as long as you sign up for our notifications, or if you subscribe, not notifications, we won't bother you that much. But if you subscribe to our email, then you'll go ahead and get pretty much all the information when it comes out. So we're just following in line with Pennsylvania State and CDC guidelines, obviously, in terms of gatherings. But we're hopeful that we're going to be rocking and rolling here soon to go ahead and at least have some smaller ones. We've had some really small ones in the spring and in the late summer. Got some cleaning done. So a lot of family and friends, but hopefully we're open up to more of the community soon.
Awesome. Yeah. So head over to thebridge.com and I can tell you, you guys are good. I like your website. I like your marketing. All your stuff is very clean and awesome. And there's a nice pop-up, so you cannot miss it. Go to the website. It'll pop up. Just click on there and subscribe to it. And I need to, maybe. I think I've closed it out. I think I need to do it.
All done by us. Gary built the website. Our team all built the website, and Odyssey Public Relations is awesome. Another Penn State alum, and Reagan Kearns, who we partner with. So we kind of kept it in the family with a lot of this stuff, all grassroots. So
I like it. It is very clean. And then we also got the Bridge merch, which is also a pretty good URL that you got. So people can also support you by going there, and sweatshirt you got on. And what else you got on there?
Man, we have t-shirts, we have shadow boxes. As I mentioned, behind me are the bleachers. We actually were able to go ahead and partner with a local company, to where the bleachers are being made into shadow boxes. So those are being sold. It's literally a piece of history. So we've gotten some orders. Just recently, Jeffrey Knight, I just made a special delivery to Mr. Knight, who is the city planning director. So we've gotten just a bunch of support on the local and also the national level. So mailing some of those out as far as Washington. So out in Seattle, did go ahead and get one out there. So it's been awesome. So those are ways to go ahead and support. We got t-shirts, we got the dad hats, more swag is going to be coming soon. So
that shadow box is awesome, especially if you went to McDevitt. That's super cool. Exactly. Super good gift if you know somebody that went to McDevitt. Can you is that a targeting option in Facebook? People that went to McDevitt. I haven't looked at high schools.
So we got the point of targeted ads.
Perfect. And another reason you should visit the website so you can see some ads later, which I see. And I might get one of these shadow boxes. I got to think of somebody that I know went to McDevitt who maybe I could get it for. I'm sure I know somebody. So a few announcements before we go out. If you're interested in a business spotlight package, which consists of Greg coming to your business and showing behind the scenes, maybe he would come out to McDevitt and see behind the scenes and walk through there sometime when COVID permitting or something. I'd like to do it actually. And then you see an interview here, like you're seeing with me here with Corey. And then we also do a networking mixer at the business, COVID permitting and the business permitting. If you're interested in one of those, go to supportcentralpa.com. I can tell you that a proper business spotlight package of all three is booked out till like September or so. But if you want to do an episode with me, I'm happy to do that all the time. If you want access to our special offers, join our email list. It's 1 email a week. It's me drafting it, not spammy, just tells you what's going on. Go to supportcentralpa.com to sign up for that. Join our Facebook group. If you're watching this on LinkedIn or YouTube or Instagram or any other place other than Facebook, please head over to Facebook and join our group. Central PA supports small business. A lot of good stuff going on in there. We even have people in there that said I had to stop posting in there because I got too much business. So super good group. I mean, it is active. I think out of 11,000, there's like 10,000 of the people that are active every month, which is super good. And we keep a presence there so it doesn't get spammy or anything. And if you're on Clubhouse, which Corey is also, follow Corey on Clubhouse, look him up. I'm at Agent Derek on there. And maybe next time we'll do an episode on there. Down. If you're buying or sell a house, hit me up. You can text me, email me, throw a rock through my window, send a carrier pigeon. We need houses for sale. Prices are sky high. Remember to support Central PA small business and the Bridge and Corey and their mission. Thanks for watching and listening. And say goodbye, Corey.
Let's build.
See everybody.